And welcome to Politics on the Rocks, your weekly source of medical misinformation. That was Everybody Knows She's Mine by the Blackberry Smoke. I'm your host, Nick. To my right, Chris.
Hey there.
Across the table, Bookie.
Bada-hoo, bada-ba.
Bada-hoo. And in front of me, Cameron.
Good day, good day.
And our special guest.
Special guest this evening is Rittenhouse.
We have Kyle Rittenhouse on the show.
Welcome! Yeah, wait, you say it like that.
Hey, guys.
The Kenosha Kid in a bottle. Anyways, Bottled and Bond. It's a rye whiskey, and what are you guys' thoughts?
It's nice.
It's nice. I like it. I always say the same crap.
It packs a punch.
Yeah, that's a spice to it.
Yeah, it's 100 proof. It's a little hot, but it's a little spicy. Kind of like Nick's Kulo.
Hey, it's kind of nice on this chilly evening we have here.
It feels festive.
Yeah, so maybe just some administrative stuff. Sorry for the absence last week. No episode last week. We had some family stuff, Cameron and I, that required our attention, and there was something else that I wanted to mention. Can't remember. We hope everyone had an awesome Thanksgiving and everyone stayed safe and you didn't go to any of those COVID super spreader events and get the Omicron variant, the hottest drop.
The hottest drop.
The hottest drop.
Or stayed away from Christmas parades.
Yeah. Too soon? Too soon? No, not too soon. Never too soon for us.
Hey, what is the movie with the cars that won people over? There's actually a
Maximum Overdrive.
Is that what it is?
It was based on a Stephen King book. It's kind of old.
Oh, yeah, the car. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's probably a more recent one that has that same.
Yeah, it's a Waukesha County, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. Nobody was driving the car. It was just it was a transformer, right? Essentially, that just decided to run.
It was a Tesla
gone
gone rogue, bro.
Right.
Yeah, they went from took a wrong turn to it was just a car.
But ironically enough, the owner of the car, although he was not in the car, was very racist and talked, openly about killing white people. But it wasn't him; it was his car. So that's besides the point. Mm-hmm. What we're going to discuss this evening, obviously we have to cover the Rittenhouse case because that has happened, and we can't not talk about that. We're going to talk about what did you want to talk about, Chris? You mentioned it, I can't remember.
The local guy, Andrew Coffey.
Oh, yeah.
There was a SWAT raid that they got the wrong house, and he ended up killing a couple of police officers.
Yeah. No, there was something else though. Oh, the Fifth Circuit and Sixth Circuit Court appeals. Well, they shot down Biden's.
The Fifth Circuit shot down Biden's vaccine mandate, and then it's going to the Sixth Circuit for appeals.
Yes, so some fun stuff. One other thing, I forgot to mention this in the administrative segment. We got a lot of complaints about the audio quality on our dual cast with the foreign and domestic podcast. No, the foreign and domestic unfiltered. Yes, foreign and domestic unfiltered. Our dual cast with them. So what we do is we do it through Zoom, and I think we lose a little audio quality when we do that. So. Just shut the fuck up about it and enjoy the fact that we were able to do that with them. And thank you to those guys for joining us. It got a little spicy at the end, but we had fun, I think, right?
No, I think if you can ignore the fact that it's not as clear, it's some really good content in there.
Yeah, I think so too. A lot of good differing views and good discussion and some fun arguments. But Boogie, do you want to? As a tradition.
Start us off?
Yeah, start us off here.
Yeah. I think I'm going to skip this first one. We can talk a bit. I think the first thing we should probably discuss is the Rittenhouse trial, the verdict they came to, and then our little hometown hero.
Yeah.
That actually spread the news pretty wide and far after
it did. Yeah, I saw it on some big media outlets.
Yeah. So, Rittenhouse, he was found guilty of all charges and is rotting in jail now.
Why is this so zoomed in?
As he should be.
So,
That's not what happened.
Oh, it's not. Oh,
No,
I thought he
that's
shot
not
like
what
10 black people, and
No, man. No.
and then he raped his mom.
Yeah,
He did like a ton of stuff.
that's what I heard.
Yeah, if you listen to the news, that's what he did.
Yeah. No, but so Rittenhouse verdict came out. He was found not guilty of all
On all accounts.
6 accounts, I think it was, or maybe 5 that were pushed through. And I think for me, I didn't watch the whole. Actually, I didn't watch really any of the.
Just the highlights.
Yeah, I watched some highlights, and then I watched a lot of YouTube lawyers that are actual lawyers that had like roundtables that were like streaming it and like talking about it at the same time. It was more interesting, and so I watched a couple hours of that, and it seems everything that the defense and the prosecution kind of put forward that he looked like he was guilty, not guilty to me.
Yeah, I mean,
Self-defense.
that's what the jury found, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty evident based on the video that was widely available 5 minutes after the event happened over a year ago that it was self-defense.
Yep.
So, I mean, anyone who hadn't watched that by now, whenever the whole trial started going down, kind of just was on a bad footing, I think, because they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things, throughout this whole case was how and this is nothing surprising. We don't expect much from the media, but
Right.
to watch the media, I mean, it was just blatantly lying. Like nothing they said was not even like, based in honesty. Like, what does Michael Malice always say? What the fuck? Accurate but not truthful.
Yeah,
or-
accurate.
Yeah.
Factual, but not
Factual, right. They didn't even bother with the factual part. It was just straight up lies. I mean, the guy, Gage Crossjoy, whatever the fuck his name is, the guy who got his arm blown off, he testified and said, no, like, he didn't shoot me until I pointed my gun at him. And the media headlines were, the complete opposite.
Right.
And it was just, and that was the common theme throughout the whole trial. And, this is by design, again, as we always say, because for the average person, they're not going to do, what we do. We hyper focus and, we're a little obsessive about news and, things like that. So for us, it's, very, very clear what's going on. But to the average person that just, is going to turn their TV on and get their, world news in 15 minutes or less, they see this stuff and then they hear a couple days later that he's let off, and it's, from their perspective, rightfully so, outrage because they don't have the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like the media does what it does, and it drops something that's completely inaccurate and false, and you hear it one time, and then it's the conversation around the water cooler, and then all of a sudden this person's off, and they're quoting something like, "Oh, this guy shot 3 black protesters," and it's like you couldn't be further from the truth on like what actually happened, And even some journalists got it wrong and came back and corrected themselves after, it was all said and done. But it's just another grand example of how terrible the media is.
Dishonest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I think for me personally, for someone again with like a liberty mindset, when I look at court cases and stuff like that, it's not. I don't always get my hopes up, and even if like things go the way that I think they should go, it's still like not the most gratifying thing. But I'm glad he's not sitting in a jail cell for the rest of his life for something he didn't do, or for what they were trying to get on was a provocation.
Yeah, exactly. They were basically implying that just having a gun is a provocation. Which, if they're going to argue that, then their own client would have been guilty of that.
I feel like that's such
a
a slippery slope.
Yeah, well, that's kind of. I feel like the authoritarian left basically just wants to get rid of self-defense altogether, and this was kind of like a really important case for them.
I'm a little confused.
They were really hoping they could just get rid of the right to self-defense here, or at least muddy the waters.
What's up with this New York Post? Did they become based all of a sudden?
I think the New York Post is usually right wing.
Yeah, New York Post.
Oh, what am I? I'm thinking of the Times.
Yeah,
New York Times. Yeah,
New York Post is.
Yeah, I mean, I just out of just to look up something. Do we want to go through some of these? These are some of the biggest.
We should go through some of the misconceptions because a lot of people probably still believe this.
Right. So and I'll just go through them bullet by bullet, and we could talk about it or whatever. But one of the biggest misconceptions is that he killed black people, which is obviously we know this is not true. We've seen it from the videos.
And that
all three of the men he shot were violent rioters, and they were all white. One of them. This is maybe a little explicit, but we've said worse probably. One of them, Rosenbaum, the first man he shot in the face, or in the head, I guess, rather, he was a serial rapist, including anal rape on children.
It's like 11 different counts on 5 different children.
Yeah, right.
11 counts?
11 counts on 5 different kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what,
I
what
think
is he doing walking around?
In one of his trials, he admitted that he got with this girl solely for access to her son or some shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing. You can fact check me on that, but one of the cases, he basically admitted that was the whole premise of that relationship.
I guess just to expand on that, we're not saying that he had the right to kill him no matter what just because he was yes, but no.
Yeah, right.
But, we don't want to fall in the same boat as the people who are saying that, Kyle was, he should have been being attacked just because he was there with a gun. You have to be aggressed upon to be, allowed to.
Yeah, he was
attack someone else.
He was hit in the head with a skateboard 2 or 3 times before he decided to actually shoot this guy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess that brings us to the next one, which is pretty freaking. This is one of the big ones.
But hold on, before we go to the next one, this one we just talked about is the fact that it was 3 white guys instead of black protesters or whatever. So, say the situation is 3 black people or 1 black person and 2 white people. Does it make it any different?
Not in my opinion.
Well, the way they were kind of making it out to be was that they were just BLM protesters protesters. Yeah. But they weren't. They were rioters.
Right.
And that's the thing is if you're really, a supporter of BLM and you're really fed up with people showing up and making your movement look like shit, then why do you care that, he shot these fucking losers that are there causing trouble, lighting shit on fire?
Yeah, and that's a good point you bring up because these air quote protests, they were violent from day one.
Yeah, they were just
and
people
the guy who
to take advantage of this.
The guy who testified, Drew Hernandez, he was on Tim Pool's show recently, and he was on the he was there, he was the one.
Right.
That's why he testified. He had all these videos, and he said from the very first day after what the hell was that guy's name that got shot? The protest was over. Yeah, the unarmed guy that had a knife. And that's besides the point. But it was violent from the day he was killed. So, to call this a protest is it's just not truthful. It's dishonest.
Right.
Yeah, this was one of those, like we talked about with the other podcast last episode where, supposedly the data shows that 93% of the millions of people who protested that summer were peaceful, which means 7% were violent, which is a lot of people.
Which is a massive number.
Millions, right.
Yeah, but this riot definitely classified as that 7%, the entire thing. There was almost no peaceful protesting.
I mean, they were pushing dumpsters that were on fire into gas stations. It's,
Right. And the night before, the used car lot that they were at and that they were kind of protecting.
Well, they were asked by the owners. The owner actually asked one of Kyle's friends, and I believe offered to pay him, and then his friend
asked
said
Kyle to come
right,
around
we need bodies.
So, but the night before, one of their used car lots was heavily vandalized. A bunch of their cars got lit on fire, and so that was why they were there in the first place.
Right.
And just as a side note, at the trial, the owners of that car lot denied that they asked them to.
Right.
But there was clear video evidence of the owners standing right next to the
armed Kyle Rittenhouse and his friend. Yes.
Exactly. So what a bunch of scumbags.
Yeah, piece of shits. Another thing worth pointing out is that he didn't cross state lines with a firearm. The firearm that he possessed was perfectly within legal bounds, I guess. In the state of Wisconsin, it's completely legal for anybody. What was it? Is it 16 and older?
I think 17, or maybe it's 16.
I think it's 16. Because he was 17 at the time. Well, not that maybe it still would have been legal, but oh yeah, right here, AR-15. Yeah. So in the state of Wisconsin, you're completely legal to open carry a long gun, which is a rifle overall length of 26 inches or greater, at 17 years old, which is what he did. So, legally, he had the right to carry that firearm in the open.
Yeah, the judge dismissed those charges immediately as soon as the trial started.
Right, and it was not a firearm that he crossed state lines with. This was a firearm that his friend had and lent him.
Yeah, and also the thing about, he crossed state lines. He wasn't even from there. It's not his town, whatever you want to say. His dad literally worked in that town. It's like 20 minutes away from where he lives in Illinois. It's not like he fucking traveled 5 hours or even 1 hour to go
right. It's no different
to a random town
than you.
And
or
even
me.
If he had, I honestly don't really give a shit.
Yeah, well, then that's an interesting argument from the left because they're against borders until it's in their favor to be for them.
Yeah, that's something I kind of want to bring up.
Yeah, what happened to imaginary lines on a map?
Yeah, which is what they are, but. Yeah, it's weird that they want to throw the state line thing is huge, right? Because, when you do say it out loud, it does sound, for whatever reason, it sounds like icky, right? It sounds like, oh, that's interesting, or kind of like some red bells go off. But, why does that matter? Aren't we all, well, if you're coming from, most people's point of view, aren't we all Americans?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And even if we're not, we're all humans, and one, we should all have the same human rights that we were given to us as we were born. But two, if he's helping out other humans, what does it matter? Like Chris was saying, he could be from New York and he could have flown there for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it's the whole state line thing is such a subjective thing. If you live in Savannah, Georgia, which is right near the border of Florida, and you come down across the border to Florida, you cross state lines, but you only drove 30, 45 minutes. Whereas if you want to go to the northeast of fucking state of Georgia, that's a way longer drive. You never cross state lines, so you'd have to put in a lot more effort to get there. But somehow that's not as bad.
Yeah, I mean it's all community based too, right? Because most communities sometimes do fall within borders that are imaginary lines on a map, but sometimes they don't. The Panhandle of Florida, which most Floridians who live south of there don't count the Panhandle as part of Florida, probably has more in common with Alabama and Georgia because they're right there.
Yeah,
where
geographical.
Yeah,
and another kind of interesting point to bring up is everyone's talking about how Rittenhouse apparently crossed state lines with a firearm, even though he didn't have a firearm when he crossed state lines, and state lines were 20 minutes from his house, and they're completely ignoring the fact that the guy Gage. He drove, or what was it, Rosenbaum or Gage that got on a bus? Yeah.
I think.
He literally crossed state, or did he cross state lines?
No, I think it's just farther.
Confused. Yeah, so he got on a bus an hour away and drove to Kenosha with a firearm.
To riot.
How is that, I don't know how you can bring up one and completely ignore the other.
And another thing, just to quickly end this, for me at least, is, okay, if that's your argument, take that argument away. Does what he did, does that change anything? Mm-hmm. If he didn't cross state lines and he still killed these people and shot one other person, is that okay? If that's what your main argument's holding on to, you can change that real fast, and if it changes, then okay, I guess that means something. But if not, then what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. We could just skip that one.
That makes me think So this guy got on a bus and an hour away to come and just mess up a city and riot. Like, these are the kind of people that you're dealing with when you're talking about, like, Antifa and some of these guys. They're losers.
Yeah, they're just straight up shit starters, troublemakers.
Yeah, that's it.
They're exactly what they made out Kyle to be.
Right.
The LARPing, right? That's what the new word is.
Oh yeah, the LARPer.
The LARPer?
Live action role playing.
Live action role play.
Some of these other ones are kind of stupid ones.
Yeah,
those are the kind of the.
I guess those are the two like biggest things that I heard a lot, as like a support for for Kyle going to jail for the rest of his life or whatever.
Yeah. The only like argument that I guess kind of can't really be debunked, I guess is kind of just open to interpretation. And this is probably the most common argument I've personally heard is that he air quotes had no business being there, which it's not really a fair argument to me because
it's also not the question of this trial, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's right. But everyone, that's like one of the biggest ones that kind of can't be debunked. And I just ask you to challenge yourself and your own standing. Like, if your community, which this was arguably his community, his parents owned businesses in Kenosha. I think his uncle owned a business in Kenosha. He worked in Kenosha. This is his community.
He probably, fooled around with some guys or girls in Kenosha.
Yeah, probably laid it down.
Throwing that pipe.
Laying down pipe in Kenosha. But yeah, no, I just challenge you to ask yourself, if your community needed help, whether it be, in this form or really any form, do you not have the, right to defend yourself in the event that, you are helping your community and something like this does happen to you?
Yeah, it's a big property rights case, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it really was that's why I think a lot of people on both sides were pretty just up in arms about it because, as I said, I think the authoritarian left took it as a huge opportunity to smack down, some people's rights in terms of defending their private property, and the right saw it as a huge possible disaster in terms of protecting property rights and your ability to actually defend your property.
Yeah.
If he had been charged, it's just what can you do? You literally, everything he did was he practiced total restraint until he absolutely had to use deadly force. And as far as I saw, he was well within his right to use deadly force before he did. And
I'd agree.
Even people.
He showed more restraint than most police officers in this country.
That's for sure.
That would be an interesting conversation. Yeah. It's true.
and that was actually something not that specifically, but when we did the dual cast, towards the end when I was a bottle and a half in, but that was a point that Patter brought up was that maybe it was
Ramon.
Yeah, maybe it was Ramon. He said something along the lines of, the police, don't do anything in this country. And then I could be paraphrasing. I could be putting words in his mouth. But somebody insinuated that, one person could, slow down a riot or something or something along those lines. And then, I don't know where I'm going with this. I lost my train of thought. But
I think
the point is that the police were not doing anything. So what are you just supposed to let your entire city burn to the ground?
Yeah, because we had a conversation about that before we got into the Rittenhouse stuff, where we were talking about how the police were kind of being ordered to form a line, and everything that was in front of them basically was just up for grabs, was getting looted and burnt to the ground. And so it's the police aren't going to protect your property. They're not there to protect your property. They're there to just show force, and hopefully they calm them down. But then at the same time, you're saying that you're not allowed to, defend your property, which is odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to put any words in anyone's mouths, but I'm pretty sure I butchered that. But
yeah.
The point remains.
You totally butchered it.
Yeah.
And if anybody's
sorry, Ramon. Sorry, Patter.
If anybody's listening, it's well, what are you guys talking about? Property? one, he was, asked to actually sit there at the place, but also your own person is your own property. So, like, from a liberty standpoint, you have the right to, defend yourself, defend any property you have, and you being an individual, you yourself is property. So that's where property rights come into it. Mm-hmm. So anybody was just wondering why we kept saying property. And
Property.
But
it's hoppity, get the fuck off my property.
Property in a motherfucker.
Yeah, and speaking of property, that other case that kind of came through is a local...
Yeah, Andrew Coffey the Fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, I don't know all of, like, the small details of this one.
And we discussed
But I have two, like, really juxtaposed articles here. One of them is from the Police Tribune, so you know which side they're on. And then the other one is from, like, an ABC News report. And so one of them kind of, like, just the ABC News report definitely, like, is more on the side of, Andrew Coffey. Well, not even necessarily. They just kind of go over the facts of, what happened. But the police report, like, in the title, they call him a felon.
Yeah.
And, like, they say that he used his pregnant girlfriend as a shield.
It's a great image.
Yeah, so, you just
And
get
my question is, how do they even know that?
Yeah.
Right, because they also say in the article that they blindly shot into the window after they were shot at.
Right, maybe let's explain who he is.
So we talked about it in an earlier episode. I think it was our justice reform episode that we kind of did.
Yeah,
a couple episodes, like maybe 10 episodes ago. Mm-hmm. I think Nick or Chris brought it up, and
I think it was Nick. Yeah.
It was one of our. It's a local thing in River County, in Karen Gifford. It's very similar to the Breonna Taylor case that happened that went nationwide, where Andrew Coffey was sleeping with his girlfriend and also had other family members in the house. And sometime in the early morning or late at night, Indian River County sheriffs did a SWAT raid on his house.
Yep.
The wrong house.
Yeah, you can get to that because in the court case, they're not going after any of the things they went for the actual raid.
Yeah.
So, whoopsie. They used one of those breach things on his back window, and from there it's hearsay when whoever shot first or who announced they were police or not. But he felt that his family and his girlfriend and himself and his property was being offended on, and so he defended it, shot, and I don't think he hit anybody. I think he might have grazed one or two or not. But most importantly is they just lit that place on fire with bullets.
Yep.
Shot his girlfriend 10 times, which is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah. They unloaded on that
even
place.
Blind firing, like to hit someone 10 times.
Yeah.
And no one else. I think it was like 3 other people in the house.
Yeah.
But they were in that one room. I think they were breaching. So they threw a flashbang in there. I mean, it was intense. And so that happened, and it was so that happened in 2017, and now the case just finally, which if you want to juxtapose that to the Rittenhouse case, which happened last year, and now it just went to trial, which is crazy to think that 3 years or 4 years this guy's been sitting around waiting for a trial.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that in itself, we would think all things ridiculous. And then before I think his trial happened, was it a grand jury? Found the police officers. It's not guilty.
Exonerated
them for what they did, which is
of the murders, basically
bullshit.
Yeah.
And then this case, if you want to take
I guess he was on trial. I mean, it almost sounds like he was on trial for the murder of his wife,
his girlfriend.
His girlfriend.
They were charging him for second degree for his girlfriend.
Which is insane.
Like our own sheriff, Flowers, has a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase it. He says, "She would still be alive if he did not open fire."
Right here, it goes, it's disappointing
you,
that the jury did not see the tragic death of Alteria Woods occurred as a direct result of the actions of Andrew Coffey. So it had nothing to do with the fact that you guys broke into the wrong fucking house?
Oh,
are you going to tell me that?
I was going to say, let me correct that for you. It was due to the actions of the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
And then here, I'm assuming this is the prosecuting attorney. She died because this defendant chose to open fire on law enforcement. Again, completely refuting the fact that law enforcement didn't have a right to be there.
Yeah. She said, he said, but we stand by a statement that she would still be here had Coffey simply complied with law enforcement.
I saw that. I hated that.
Yeah, nobody has a fucking obligation to comply to your fucking gang when you literally have no reason to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, or breaching people's window and throwing flashbangs.
Yeah, we're not your little fucking, minions that you can just break into our house.
Right, we're not your subjects.
Yeah.
It is worth noting, and this is obviously, I think I speak for all of us when I say this is terrible, but he is still facing 20 years for firearm possession laws because he's a felon. So, he'll probably get that. Unfortunately,
I never found what he's a felon for. I'm guessing it's for drugs.
Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I don't know if we've said it, but just to make sure the reason why this is with the Rittenhouse case is because this is another case of self-defense, and like Chris said, they were going after him for second-degree murder of his girlfriend, which the police killed, and then going after him assaulting police officers. And he was found not guilty of all those, which is awesome.
Oh, wait, no, what is it? A judge sentenced Andrew Coffey Jr. to life in prison Thursday for the premeditated attempted murder of an Indian River County.
That's the wrong one, sorry. If that was from the notes.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, wait, this doesn't look like the same
yeah,
guy.
that's...
Sorry, you weren't there when I talked about it.
Why don't you just delete it from the
Andrew
notes,
Coffey.
you dickhead?
Because then we wouldn't have this to talk about.
It's so funny, though, in the Police Tribune article, it says the police report said that deputies' search of the home turned up marijuana cigarettes, crack cocaine, 10 hydromorphone pills, like 10 pills, cool, and then 1 oxycodone pill in Coffey's father's bedroom. Like, really, they're gonna throw like his dad's fucking probably prescribed pain pills?
Yeah. All I'm saying is you raid my house, and there's a lot more than that in my house.
Yeah, literally
in Minecraft.
Dude.
Yeah, and again, which is funny because nothing that you just spoke about he was being charged for.
Yeah,
so he obviously had no warrant.
Right. This is just like slander. This whole article from this Police Tribune website.
And it's a shame, too, because, he's looking at these firearms charges because of the result of the police department. Had they not done this, he could have just owned this firearm and lived happily, Yeah.
Yeah, with his 1 oxycodone pill.
So I'm not a cop, but I can imagine in a much better scenario where you wait till the guy leaves the house and there's not a house full of people. Where you're throwing flashbangs in the house, right?
Yeah, there seems to be a common theme with pregnant girlfriends in these raids.
And we're not completely ignorant to the fact that there are situations that do call for that kind of force. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Actually, really, the only one I can think of is hostage situation, right? Where somebody else's life.
He's a threat to the people in the house,
right? Like an immediate threat.
Yeah.
But I mean, something like this with firearms charges, like you just said,
drugs.
Cameron. Yeah, fucking run surveillance on the guy's house the second he leaves, pull him over, and you're done. You don't have to fucking shoot this guy's house apart.
But where's the fun in that, dude?
Well, that's the problem, because our police departments across the nation have become so militarized now. I mean, you see some of these, SWAT units, and they look like, fucking Green Berets or Navy SEALs, arresting citizens. And it's really I don't know, it just freaks me out because the military can't do these kind of things on American soil, so it's we'll just turn our police force into its own military. And that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, because I'm maybe not as anarchist when it comes to the police, and I think there's a world in which
well, yeah, you're a Fed, so
no, I think there's a world in which police could be a or just like a service that could be not so militarized and not so writing tickets for everything. I think there was a world where that did exist, but now, like you say, it's militarized and it's intense, and we're flashbanging pregnant women and shooting up houses, and we're doing things that another thing to go with this sort of militarized police force is they have these I don't know if you've seen them, but we have one here as well, in our county. But it's it looks like a tank.
Yeah, the APCs.
I mean, it's I'm not sure. There's you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Apple's always standing in front of it with his bulletproof vest on.
Who is?
Yeah.
Isn't that his name? Apple? Or,
No,
Flowers.
Apple was the freaking
Flowers.
whatever,
Yeah.
some plant.
Derek Flowers. Yeah.
Call them apples.
Eric Flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a different guy that was running
But,
for sheriff.
Yeah. So again, just kind of bringing the Andrew Coffee case up, because I know with the Rittenhouse we covered a lot of stuff, but another
Look at that thing.
Oh yeah, that's friendly.
Yeah.
A lot of people brought up, if Rittenhouse was black, it would be completely different, where this is a case where you could, weirdly enough, kind of happen in the same day. Both
same thing.
counts. Yeah, he defended himself, and he defends himself against the state too, which you would think, is harder to come off of because it's the state. And he got found not guilty, which is awesome.
And not only that, people are also forgetting that just 2 or 3 months ago, a kid literally shot somebody in a school and was let out the next day on bail. This kid, I think it was like...
It was in Texas.
Yeah, I think his bail was set at like $10,000 or something.
Yeah, whereas Kyle's was like $1 million.
Yeah, and bail reform, that could be a whole episode on itself, but to even hint that this was at all, biased because he was white or whatever it's just retarded. It's just stupid as fuck.
I know we don't have the notes, but then you can even bring up the third case that kind of happened around the same time.
Oh yeah, on Mid-Arbery.
Yeah, where that was a blatant
murder.
Yeah, murder. Where they tried to say, self-defense, but thankfully the idiot videotaped it all. And you could see it wasn't.
Yeah, they chased this guy down.
It's like, I don't care if this kid was in the house, stealing a hammer or a fucking measuring tape or whatever the fuck it was. Like, yeah, maybe he was a thief. Who cares? You chased him down the road and killed him.
And this was a point I brought up to somebody I was arguing with, as I naturally do. They brought up the typical argument that Kyle Rittenhouse, had no business being there. Okay, well, if we're going to apply that logic, Ahmaud Arbery didn't have business running in a neighborhood that wasn't his. Yeah, I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying if you want to use that logic, use that logic everywhere. So
well, that was to feed into a narrative that he was like a white supremacist in a place that he shouldn't have been.
Right? Yeah,
which obviously failed, but. Wait, clarify what exactly happened with this case, because not everybody knows what's going on.
The Ahmaud Arbery one?
Yeah, he was in a affluent white neighborhood, a lot of bigger houses, decent money in there, I would assume.
Yeah.
And there was a house being built, and somebody claimed that they saw him in this, new construction job site, I guess, looking around.
There was there was video of him in there.
Yeah,
and the video was he was literally just looking around.
Dude,
most people do.
Right, if we're gonna use that...
My mother-in-law does that all the time.
That's what I'm getting to. If we're gonna use that as justification to run somebody down and kill them, I should have been killed 1,000 times, bro.
Yeah.
Growing up, that's what we did. We went into construction sites,
even now, I still walk through, that's nice how they're doing this.
13, 14-year-old just checking out a job site. I mean, we used to steal coils and nails and scrap wood and shit to build forts, but I mean, what the fuck is the big deal? The guy's just looking around.
I definitely did that as well.
Yeah, everybody
did that.
Shit, when that house was built across from your parents, remember we went over there and broke all the windows?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. But no, it's just fucking brain dead.
But yeah, so the 3 gentlemen, there's 2 gentlemen in one truck and another guy behind them in another truck, I believe.
Yeah.
The father-son chased him down in a truck. He was supposedly jogging, just doing his routine jog, stopped in this discussion site, looking around. Oh, that's nice. Hey, this is good. Left, jogging. They chased him down. Supposedly there have been break-ins. Again, they have no reason to be doing this. Chase him down in the truck, get him down, pull out a shotgun, I believe, on him, and then he tries to defend himself, and they shoot him dead.
Yeah, just by hitting them with,
which
his fists.
Is reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, unfortunately, he was killed.
Yeah.
Because a fist does not,
yeah, that was another big thing. He's like, oh, well, you shouldn't reach for somebody with a gun. And while I agree, if you fucking just get rolled up on by a jackass with a gun, what you just supposed to say, oh, yeah, I guess this is it. I'm going to die.
Yeah. Yeah, you should defend yourself. It's unfortunate.
And I know people are going to try and draw a comparison because Rosenbaum grabbed Kyle Rittenhouse's gun, and that's why Kyle Rittenhouse fired. Kyle Rittenhouse was running from these people.
Running away.
Rittenhouse was the one running away.
Not running towards them.
He didn't act until someone was trying to grab his gun after he had been running away.
Right.
Whereas this is the total opposite. The victim was running away to try and get away.
Yep.
And then he was unarmed. and then he didn't try to grab their gun until they were on him, like
right, and
possibly trying to shoot him.
Yeah, and not to mention how this kicked off. Kyle Rittenhouse, they were across the street from the car dealership that they were asked to, help defend. Somebody started a fire in a pickup truck in this car lot.
Well, we're jumping back and forth here.
Yeah, well, no, I just thought of it. I feel like it's worth bringing up. Fuck you.
Okay, all right.
Somebody started a fire in a truck, and he ran over to put it out. And that's when Rosenbaum, after earlier in the day saying, if I catch any of you motherfuckers by yourself, I'm going to kill you, he chased him to the car dealership. And that's when, he tried to grab his gun, and dude went to work, bro. I don't know what to say. That's the end of that story.
Put 4 in that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of like a whole slew of like self-defense / murder cases that just kind of cropped up all at the same time.
And thankfully we're all ruled, and I think we all agree in the correct decisions.
Yeah, I don't think.
Except
the
for
only
the gun charge.
Yeah, that's the only one I'm not really.
It's very unfortunate that
too stoked about.
That's even a thing.
Yo, we definitely talked about this.
What
the China builds missile targets shaped like U.S. Air Force carrier.
You might have brought it up. I don't think we.
I don't think that we talked about that.
Because I feel like I explicitly remember talking about the DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile. Anyway, we could talk about it again briefly if you guys want.
Yeah. So what? China
is building targets for their new anti-ship missile, specifically the so-called carrier killer DF-21D anti-ship ballistic missile. They're building these targets that basically directly resemble U.S. aircraft carriers and destroyers.
Nice.
And they're setting these up in a remote desert in China, and that's what what they're using to test their new missiles with.
I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, we are their next target, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
We're the only target for them,
we're
right?
the empire, so it's like, who else are you going to...
Exactly.
Like, back when we were trying to get rid of the British, I'm sure we did similar things.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
also, those are the ships that are like, 60 miles off their coast, so...
Yeah, and it's you bring up a good point by calling us the empire. We've... Over the years...
What's this us shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, the U.S. federal government over the last, 6 decades, we've assumed this... the U.S. federal government has assumed this empiristic title, and what other, that's like the prime... You're putting a target on your back.
Yeah, like what are they going to put up, like... German ships? Like, that'd be such a random thing.
Italian ships.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't...
Japanese security force ships.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, I guess, not a whole lot to say about that. I'm not a huge,
China conflict.
China hawk.
Yeah, me either.
There's been a lot of just kind of like...
questionable things going on with China.
Yeah, and just kind of like U.S. Right-wing pundits and stuff have been kind of building it up as a like huge threat to the U.S.
It seems like a big fear-mongering.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I just don't get how we can call them a threat when we're literally fucking like driving warships right off their coast like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, what else do you expect them to do?
Yeah.
I think that's a hard thing for people to kind of wrap their head around that are very pro-America.
But imagine if they were doing the exact same thing to us.
Exactly.
And I guess you could argue that they are. There were reports last year that they were, and these were confirmed reports. They're not just, but they had, they were like running military drills in Canada, like right on the border of whatever and whatever, Canada and U.S. And a lot of people were freaked out about that.
One thing that's worth mentioning is, I mean, Taiwan's been like the huge kind of like point of contention that like, if China attempts to invade Taiwan, then like the U.S. is basically Secretary Blinken, the Secretary of State, basically assured Taiwan that we would go to war for them, and a whole bunch. And he also assured Japan that if they tried to take any of their, they're called islets. They're not even islands. They're these little islets.
Like the Keys almost.
Yeah, islets are islands that can't sustain life, so it's just a rock sticking out of the water. And, Japan lays claim to some of them, and China also lays claim to them. And but Japan has been able to maintain control over them because they have the U.S. backing them.
Right.
But like Blinken said, if they try to take one of those, like, we're going to war for you. It was paraphrasing. That's what he said. But one of the things that happened with Taiwan recently was that they were saying that the Chinese flew fighter jets in their airspace.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
If you look at so every country has these designations. I can't remember what they're called. They're called like air security zones, or I'm not sure exactly what they're called. We could probably find it. But if you look at Taiwan's, their zone that they claim goes into the Chinese mainland.
National security area is a designated airspace.
Air defense identification zone. That's what it is.
There you go.
So look up Taiwan air defense identification zone, and you'll see that the top right corner of it is in the Chinese mainland. So how do you expect China not to see? It's that red square.
Yeah, right.
It's China.
They intersect. Yeah.
Or the top left corner.
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, so, it's literally impossiple for them to avoid that zone. It's over their mainland.
Right.
I think Taiwan has to come to the grips that they're going to get fucked.
Yeah.
I know like the secretary said that, but there's just no way America's going to help them out. We're going to let you guys just get fucked like Hong Kong.
We're just going to talk big until, it happens. Yeah. And we're going to be like, well.
Which, I mean, I'm fine with. Like, it's unfortunate, but, like, what the hell? Like, I don't think we should help.
I also think it's a little naive to think that, in the event that we did go to war with China, like, do you really think we're just going to start setting off nukes with each other? I really don't see that happening.
No.
It'd be pretty fucking stupid.
That's what I mean. Like, two, like, nuclear capable countries going against each other, like,
do you think?
What is the end game in that situation? China sends a nuke towards us. What are we going to do? We're going to send a nuke to them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a never-ending thing until
everybody's dead. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, what the fuck is the point of that?
Do you think that's really the threat? Because you hear so many different arguments coming from so.
Well, that's the conservative one, right? The conservative.
Yeah, I mean, there's that one. The fact that they're communist, right? And so there's always this there's always this push to. The fact that they're communist and that, like, they don't, they're the Uyghur Muslims. There's so many different arguments against China. The fact that they were doing,
ballistic missile testing.
Well, that, and then they had the people off the coast of Canada, and
yeah.
So there's all these different arguments about the things that China does and organ harvesting and all this other stuff, and it's like,
I haven't.
Child labor.
I haven't read too deep into it, but I did see a couple of articles that seem to be pretty well sourced that I think on grayzone.com that were implying that the whole Uyghur Muslim thing was like severely overblown, and that basically they were like providing medical services to the Uyghur Muslims, and that, like, it wasn't really
that big of an issue,
like what it was made out to be, where they were being like rounded up, and you see that picture where they're all in the blue suits and stuff. I don't even know that picture had anything to do with the Uyghur Muslims.
Well, so say all the things that I just said are true. Does it, in any way, shape, or form, involve us occupying China or starting? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think, that's not our country. We don't get to decide what takes place there. I'm sorry,
but Cameron, we have an obligation.
Yeah, and people say that and in a way they're right, but I don't think it's the accumulative government's job to have an obligation.
Yeah. And it's like,
if you have a personal obligation, then go do something.
Right.
Yeah.
No one's stopping you.
You're free to go do whatever you want, right? Yeah. You can go fucking free the Uyghur Muslims right now.
And we saw a lot of examples of this with the Afghan pullout. There were a lot of, and Chris and I follow a lot of like active duty Green Berets and former Green Berets and Navy SEALs and just special op guys because we're LARPers and we're gun guys, but there were a lot, like an overwhelming number of these guys that, without military, without the federal government's aid, went into Afghanistan and got guys that helped them over the last 20 years that we were over there. Like, they went into this situation knowing, like, I'm going on my own. Like, if we need help, we're not getting it.
They should Black Hawk downed it, huh?
Not even though.
Successfully, though.
Yeah. Even I'd argue even kind of more serious than that. But if you have a personal,
but yeah,
thing
look
with the
where
Uyghurs, go over there.
Look where your moral obligation got us in Afghanistan.
Right, and that's another
killing a bunch of innocent people.
Right, that's another good point, because it's like there's so many instances of when the federal government should have stepped in and didn't.
Yeah.
And then there's,
inversely
situations that we had no business being in.
And then when things like, that airstrike that killed the family of 10 or whatever, when things like that happen, you'll see, right-wingers will be like, well, that's the realities of war, this stuff happens. It's like, so why are you supporting it then? It's almost like you forget, like, whenever you're blinded by your patriotism, you, forget that these are the realities of war. Innocent people are going to die.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And then, when it happens, you just kind of, brush it off. I don't know. It's disingenuous.
Like we talked about a second ago, or somebody brought up, it's like, if you agree with the premise and the fear-mongering narrative, Oh, that's a lot. Sorry, buddy.
Shit, dude.
Yeah, my bad.
Thanks,
but if you buy into
Chris, you're driving.
if you buy into that,
Just kidding, I'll do it.
If you buy into that fear mongering, and you're terrified about what China may do or whatever, and then they go and occupy whatever. I'm just using an example, right? But if you buy into all that, then you almost agree with the terms of that's where people die, there's weapons of mass destruction,
right? So now apply that to your people, right?
Yeah,
if China is going to invade, that's part of war, buddy. If you and your family get blown up in a strike, that's just war,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. People don't look at it from both sides,
right? Because it's so easy to separate, remove yourself that. Those 8 or 9 kids, whatever it was, that, got quite literally blown to smithereens, they were somebody's kids.
Right. Yeah, for sure, man.
Not only were they just kids, but, this family was all involved in, programs where they were helping people. They were, delivering water and doing things like that. These were good people.
Yeah.
So it makes it, just all that much worse, that it was, a family of, good people that got murdered.
Yeah, man, it's just really terrible to see. But yeah, speaking of kids, I guess this is a fucked up way to jump into the next segment of our discussion. The Ghislaine Maxwell trial started on Monday.
Yeah, I think it's officially started last week.
Confusion about
with jury
when it
selection.
started.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think the actual trial kicked off Monday. Yes,
They snuck it in the back door.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
No pun.
No pun intended.
Definitely
Oh my
intended.
So I have the prosecution's opening statement. It's a little lengthy, but you want me to just go ahead and read it?
You just want to touch on what the trial's about, just in case anybody's not
Bro,
aware?
I don't think we need to do that.
Just a little bit.
I think
All right, this guy
Yeah.
had an island that he fucked kids on, and he brought a bunch of politicians and affluent people, and Ghislaine Maxwell was his right-hand girlfriend, former kid fucker. I'm not really sure what her relationship to him was.
I think it's his wife.
No, they're not married. No,
he has a husband. She has a husband, but no
Yeah.
one
Oh, really?
find him.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
she was basically hanging out in New Hampshire at her husband's house. That's where she was.
Yeah,
When
okay.
they were looking for her, remember, for almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she just anyway. So here's the opening statements. I want to tell you about Jane. She turned 14 years old, and just real quick, Jane is that's not her real name. Apparently she's in Hollywood, and she wants to remain anonymous because she feels that victim shaming is still the norm in U.S. Culture. So I want to tell you about Jane. She turned 14 years old that summer when a man and women walked by. The man said he was a donor who gave scholarships to students at this camp. The woman asked for her phone number. It began a nightmare. The man and woman were predators. Jane was not their only victim. There were other young girls. Who was that woman? It was the defendant, Ghislaine Maxwell. The defendant took these girls on shopping trips and won their trust. She talked sex. There were times she was in the room when it happened. That is why we are here today. Between 1994 and 2004, the defendant sexually exploited young girls. She preyed on them and served them up to be sexually abused. She was trafficking kids for sex. He owned a ranch in New Mexico, an apartment in Paris, a mansion in Manhattan, Palm Beach, a private island. Epstein has a private plane and pilots. The defendant got to enjoy that luxury right along with Epstein. The defendant was the lady of the house. She imposed rules. The employees were to hear nothing, see nothing, say nothing. There was a culture of silence. That was by design. The defendant's design. They had a playbook, get access, gain trust. They often targeted the daughters of single mothers struggling to make ends meet. They made these girls feel seen. But that was a cover, to get the girls to touch Epstein. They used the cover of massage. The defendant massaged Epstein, then told the girls to do it. Epstein brought girls into his massage room every single day. It was sexual abuse. Because I described those so-called massages, let me say, these are the facts. Epstein touched the teenage girls with equipment. He sometimes penetrated. The defendant helped Epstein find those girls for so-called massages. They lured their victims with a promise of a brighter future, then destroyed their lives. The defendant was jet-setting in private planes, so what happened to Jane? You will hear from her. Now keep in mind that, lawyers, it's like a play, so while reading that, I realized how weird that sounds. That's just because of the delivery, I guess you could say. There's a part 2, but it's just as long. Do we want to read it?
Nah,
I think so.
It's pretty disturbing.
Oh, well, in that case.
Like good disturbing, or?
You persuaded us.
It depends what you're into, but no.
Go for it.
Someone from Epstein's office invited her to Epstein's house. He told her mother he was offering a scholarship. Jane was 14, a child. Epstein was in the early 40s, the defendant in her early 30s. The Jane traveled to New York to Epstein's mansion, where he abused her. She was not the only one. You will learn about multiple girls during the course of this trial. You will learn about a 16-year-old girl who traveled to the ranch in New Mexico. The defendant told the girl she was going to give her a massage, but she touched her elsewhere. The girl was 16 years old. There's a 17-year-old spotted in a parking lot. The driver pulled over. They moved beyond scholarships and moved on to a pyramid scheme of abuse. They encouraged girls to bring other girls for extra cash. The defendant knew exactly what she was doing. That's what we expect the evidence will show. You'll hear about a fund that paid millions to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but you will learn that these victims would have paid anything to have this not have happened to them. You will hear from relatives. You will hear from staff members. You'll see massage tables, a schoolgirl's outfit. You'll see other records, flight logs showing the names of some of Epstein's victims. At the end, we will speak again. Until then, pay attention, follow Judge Nathan's instructions, and use your common sense. You will reach the only verdict possible, that Ghislaine Maxwell is guilty.
Well, there it is.
Yeah, so this is, just really not good. This is just not good.
It's not.
This is not good.
It's not a good look.
It's not great.
That's not great.
It's not going to look good on her resume.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I know one thing people have been talking about, because like we discussed earlier with all those other court cases that went on a week or two ago, this is not public because it's a federal case. So for whatever reason, I mean, I think the main reason is they feel that if you publicize and make public a federal case, it'll be tampered with too much, which I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's why federal cases aren't videotaped or publicized. So if people are complaining,
Yeah, there's certainly going to be some conspiracy theories come about that.
Yeah, because they just saw videotapes of the Rittenhouse case and the Aubrey case. And,
right.
But yeah, so you'll get paintings and recaps at the end of the day and all the public information, because it's still public. Like what Nick just read.
Okay.
But
yeah, so the first person that testified was the pilot for the planes, the so-called Lolita Express that was like the nickname given to the flight. But this guy was his name's Lawrence Paul Visosky Jr. And he piloted about 1,000 trips between 1991 and 2019 for Jeffrey Epstein.
He was also working for the FBI in the last 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, didn't know that. But yeah, so he testified that he never saw any sort of sexual acts happening on the plane, and that he, regularly walked all the way to the back of the plane to go to the bathroom, and basically just testified. He testified that he never saw any underage females that weren't accompanied by parents.
So he's also a liar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he also was given like a 40-acre plot of land in New Mexico, and like millions of dollars by the Epsteins. So I mean, he's very he's a very credible source.
Yeah.
But he also acknowledged that Bill Clinton was on a few of the flights that he piloted. Prince Andrew was on a few of the flights, and that John Glenn was on a few of the flights as well.
The astronaut.
Yeah. Which hurts because I went to John Glenn Middle School in Texas, and I was kind of like that guy.
So what do you guys think? I mean, for some more background too, right? The conspiracy people, love this case just because it's one. They've been, certain groups, mainly
QAnon.
QAnon, but even before QAnon, Alex Jones talked about this decades ago, or a decade ago, and Jizzy Lane, her dad, is Mossad, right?
Yep.
He's, so there's always been that connection where people thought Epstein was part of Mossad and part of the CIA as well. So there's all those conspiracies that, look pretty possible, given all the weird stuff that's happened around ever since, his first blunder with being Epstein.
A lot of people don't know.
Guilty as a sex offender.
A lot of people don't know, or a lot of people don't know. Before they discovered what was going on in this island, he was arrested and
found guilty.
Palm Beach County.
Yeah, Florida. What was it? 2018 maybe, or 2008 or 2010 or something.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
And the state prosecutor gave him this cush deal where
he served 13 months of an 18-month sentence.
Yeah, and he didn't eat It was basically he had to spend the night in prison.
Yeah, because he left and everything.
Yeah,
he was on house arrest.
Yeah, he couldn't go to his house.
Oh, okay.
He could only go to his office. But what the fuck is that? This guy's
his office is a house, pretty much.
Yeah, obviously with this cush deal, he was just flying these girls to his office instead of his house.
Yeah, there were allegations that he had sexual contact with minors during his when he was
serving his air quote sentence.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that corruption runs deep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So again, that doesn't look too good, and the fact that Jizzy Lane's been around this whole time, obviously points to people saying guilty and
her involvement,
heavily involvement, because I think part of what she's being prosecuted for is grooming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like I said in the opening statement said, I guess they would target these girls that were from troubled homes, little money, and she would offer them money to come and do this thing, and then tell them, hey, if you bring your friends, you'll get more money.
Yeah, it's like a Tupperware.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Except way worse.
Debatable.
So these girls were going to school and bringing their friends over, and it was just a compounding kind of thing.
So, little speculation here. What do you think is going to happen with this? Because there's obviously a lot of speculation about is she going to talk? Is it going to be people thrown under the bus? Because there's a lot of people who flew on those planes. Epstein had
including Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who...
Well, he only talked to the staff, so...
Right.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen with this thing?
I think she gets off.
Yeah, I do too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really, yeah?
Yeah, I think she gets off.
Yeah, like we were just talking about before we started recording, there's a couple really sketchy aspects of this case, especially dealing with like who the key players are in the prosecution and with the judge. So the lead prosecutor is Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey, who is the daughter of James Comey, the former FBI director, who is, a avid Democrat. He, wore his little Biden shirt, talking about we gotta protect democracy during the election. So he's, you clearly know which side he's on here.
Yeah.
And, you can kind of infer that his daughter feels similarly to him. So there's that, which is kind of sketchy. And then you have the judge. Her name is Allison. I can't find her name here. It's Allison something, but she was promoted or given an appointment to a appellate court position like days before this trial started. So it just kind of like suggests bribery in the form of promotions, which is not good.
It's comforting.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a jury case.
Yeah.
So obviously, in that sense, anything can happen.
Right.
But
the judge just has so much influence.
Yeah. I mean, and a judge can really do anything they want. Based within the trial.
Can throw out evidence. And,
I mean, it's really their trial. It just, they can change things so the jury sees certain things. But again, it is the jury's decision. But a lot of things just can happen. I mean, it's weird to think that it's just, I don't see a world with this where she gets found guilty only because there's so many people then you have to look at. Like you're saying, Prince Andrew, Trump, Bill Clinton. Those are just like, 3-4 names that are humongous. And, people are already looking at them already, but if she gets found guilty, then that's just even more eyes and more truth to what people have been saying.
Yeah.
And I just don't see a world where that happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, as long as she doesn't say anything or really incriminate anybody, then she maybe won't end up hanging herself, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
and to snowball back to what Chris said, I remember reading this a couple days ago, and I just refound it just looking up this. Maureen Comey is responsible, or was responsible, for the, air quotes, accidental deletion of the CCTV tapes of Epstein's cell. I don't know, you guys may or may not remember.
Oh, yeah.
If Jeffrey Epstein, killed himself, air quotes, and it just so happened that both of the guards that were responsible for, keeping an eye out for these at-risk, detention cells, both of them were nowhere to be found, and the TV or the security footage was deleted or destroyed or something to that effect, and apparently this Maureen Comey is somehow responsible for that. I'll have to double check this, but
yeah,
I remember
I'm
reading
not sure
that.
how she was directly linked to that. I've been seeing that claim everywhere.
What position she'd be in to that?
Yeah.
Maybe after
the judge's name is Allison Nathan, by the way, if anybody wanted to look at that.
Allison Nathan. I'm assuming it's the federal government, but who's prosecuting Ghislaine?
The state.
Okay.
It's the
the
federal.
state,
It's a federal
Oh,
trial.
so it is, okay.
Assistant Attorney General.
The U.S. versus.
Okay, the U.S. versus.
And so just by chance, it's James Comey's wife. Or James Comey's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Nothing to see here. Just a regular old trial.
I mean, again, this is like a multiple episode you could do just on the general, and the people have done it and they've done it well. But you can look at Prince Andrew. He's done a couple interviews ever since the Epstein killed himself, and I think even a little before then. And just the things he said, man, it is just weird to think that he had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
I think he was talking to someone in the BBC, and like the reporter's like, you can tell she's like doesn't know how to phrase things, and she's like super worried. And like she asked him like, why did you go like after he was a committed sex offender? Why'd you go to his house? He's like, well, he was my friend, and I'm not just gonna bail on him. I'm gonna tell him to his face I'm not his friend anymore. And then she's like, but then you had a party and you were the guest of honor. He's like, I don't think it was a party. Like,
it was
what?
like he made a huge mistake by doing that interview. I think that kind of cemented in everyone's mind that he was, you know, an accomplice to all this stuff, because he didn't have an answer to all these, like, the most important questions, like the one that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Where he's just, like, you know, riffing off the top of his head, trying to, like, dig himself out of this hole. And, I don't think...
Yeah, and, like, another thing that kind of stand out to me, I watched a couple clips of that interview, was, like, she asked, you know, like, how did you not see anything while this was happening? He's like, well, I'm a prince, I'm royalty, so you have to remember that people, when I'm around them, they act differently. So, like, his instation was, like, when I'm around people, they don't do, like, bad things. Like, oh, here's the prince, don't stop fucking this, like, child. You know? Throw the blanket over. Like,
Jeffrey, put your dick away.
Yeah.
The prince is here.
It's just fucking wild, man. That, like,
and not only that, there's videos of who was that asshole that couldn't, like, turn? He ran for president. He couldn't turn his head.
I don't know.
The one that Trump made fun of because he, like, was a prisoner of war.
Oh, John McCain.
McCain.
Yeah, wasn't his wife? She was like head of some anti-trafficking organization. Yeah, she's on recording saying how they knew about Epstein and what he did years ago, and they couldn't do anything because he was, you know, quote, this is her quote, they couldn't do anything because he was Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, how about you do your fucking job?
Well,
Like,
is that the same thing as the supposed MSNBC anchor that was like, I had the story?
No.
Okay, that's different.
That's
so, like,
different,
yeah.
but yeah, she, you know, had a bunch of evidence that this stuff was happening before
Cindy
it was public
McCain.
knowledge.
Yep.
And she, now I'm talking about the reporter, but she, whenever she brought it to MSNBC, they, like, you know, stifled it and didn't let her report on it.
Do we want to play the video real quick?
Of what?
Of this?
Cindy McCain, yes.
All right, just keep talking because I gotta link this shit.
But another thing to bring up that I just kind of thought of really fast, talking about, you know, the trafficking aspect of all this, is there's a ton of celebrities who are against trafficking, right? Which is great. Awesome.
Ashton Kutcher?
Yeah, he's the one that comes to mind, right? He has shirts, he's got his own thing going on. But not that I, like, look at Ashton Kutcher's Twitter or even, like, follow him, but has he said anything about Epstein at all? Like, you would think that the biggest, you know, human trafficking, private island, kid fuckery going on, you would at least say something about it. Like, hey, if this is true, this is pretty fucked up, at least.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if he said anything.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to think that, you know, the celebrities that, at a turn and a dime, they see Rittenhouse, they'll call him white supremacists, but yet they won't call it.
So here's her
because
video.
this is going to cost them something. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It hides in plain sight. Epstein was hiding in plain sight. We all knew about him. We all knew what he was doing. But we had no one that was, legal aspect that would go after him. They were afraid of him. For whatever reason, they were afraid of him. All of a sudden, someone said, BS. We're not afraid of you anymore on what you're doing. It's not only wrong, it's illegal, it's, you know, all those things. It's like a house of cards now. It's going to start tumbling, believe me. And these guys, if they don't leave the country, number one, they're going to get caught, and they're going and they not only will they get caught, but they're going to be made examples of.
Yeah, right.
And that's exactly what we should be doing with these guys, especially. In my opinion, if you know, I know there's questions, but Epstein's a chicken shit for doing what he did. He should have faced.
That's a bold claim coming from the woman who was like co-chair of Human Trafficking Council. You know, to call him chicken shit. Yet you were running.
Yeah, she just admitted that they were too scared to go after him.
Yeah, like okay.
Yeah, how can you call?
Yeah, you're the co-chair of a human trafficking organization, and you did nothing.
Yeah, and you're calling him chicken shit.
Yeah,
After he's dead.
After he's dead, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that works.
Yeah, go kill yourself, Cindy McCain.
That's not great.
That's not great. It's not good. It's not great. It's not anything. Yeah. So I don't know. We're not going to say anything that we don't already know about this whole.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 days into
the
trial, so
Yeah, it's still very early. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the coming days.
Of the
Jizz lane. I love how you put that in the notes too. Jizz dash lane.
Yes,
it's funny.
Or Jizzy Lane for short.
Yeah, it seems like a porn star name, Jizz Lane.
That's what her dad called her. Jizzy Lane.
The Mossad agent.
Yeah. Hey, get over there. Get some information.
Yeah. So some other shit on here, Chris. You want to? Yeah, I know you seem to You seem to have looked into this. the Fifth Circuit Court shooting down Biden's 100+ employee vaccine mandate for companies, and I'll let you just say it.
Yeah. So I guess OSHA published the emergency temporary standard on COVID-19 vaccination and testing for private sector workers. And that was what you just said. It was, any company over 100 employees everybody had to be vaccinated. So the Fifth Circuit reaffirmed and extended an initial stay, holding that the applicable factors favored a stay of the OSHA's ETS. So a stay basically means it's like a temporary hold on this ruling. It doesn't go into effect yet. So basically, in order to rule that that the applicable factors were met, they have 4 different criteria that they're looking at. So the first one is that the court ruled that petitioners' challenges to the ETS are likely to succeed on the merits. So they think that it's likely that they're going to win, that the people petitioning are going to win. So that was the first criteria. The second, and you can go into detail on this. Right now I'm looking at the National Law Review. Title of the article is Appellate Court Halts OSHA's Emergency Temporary Standard Requiring Mandatory COVID-19 Vaccination or Testing. So you can look that up for yourself. But when I say ETS, I'm talking about the Emergency Temporary Standard I just talked about. So anyways, the second criteria was they ruled that the petitioners would be irreparably harmed absent a stay. So, if you are forced to get a vaccine and you have some sort of condition that you probably shouldn't be getting a vaccine, like you could be irreparably harmed by it. So that was the second criteria. The third criteria, the court found that a stay will do OSHA no harm. So their remarks was that any interest OSHA may claim in enforcing an unlawful and likely unconstitutional ETS is illegitimate. Additionally, the court found that any abstract harm to OSHA because of a stay is outweighed by the harms to the individuals and companies in the absence of a stay. And finally, the fourth condition, they found that a stay of the ETS is firmly in the public interest. So the court observed that the mere specter of the ETS has contributed to untold economic upheaval in recent months, from economic uncertainty to workplace strife. Additionally, it found that public interest is served by preserving the constitutional structure and the liberty of individuals to make intensely personal decisions according to their own convictions, even or perhaps particularly when those decisions frustrate government officials. Very well worded, I thought. If you read this full thing, it's really they make a very good argument.
Right. Easy to follow.
Yeah, so that's gonna remain in effect until. So basically, the way it works is there's a lottery system to see which circuit court appeals, and then so the Sixth Court was selected via the lottery system. And if you look at that map, the Sixth Court includes a lot of southern states. So I think the Fifth Court is like Kentucky. It's kind of like central U.S. area.
Yeah, so here's the map. Yeah, Fifth Circuit is Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good one.
And then, the Sixth Court is like Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Indiana, and Ohio. So yeah, it's, there's a good chance that this court is going to be ruling similarly to the Fifth.
Right, because the fifth is the one who issued the stay, and then the sixth is the one that was appointed to the appeal, and they're
if
also
they agree, then it stays. That's it.
That's it. It's shot down.
It's
completely.
dead, right?
Right.
But then if the sixth agrees with the federal government, then it will go to appeal again, and then.
Okay,
I think
that's how it works. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. If the
I don't know for sure. It just sounds like that's what would happen.
Right, and then if the sixth court, because they're already the appeal, it can't be appealed again, right?
It's first to two. It looks like.
Yeah.
Whoever can get
best of three.
Which
series.
I don't really see the sixth court, or the Sixth Circuit.
Okay.
Not siding with the Fifth.
They kind of merged with the colors there. It was actually
yeah.
It was just Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Michigan's wonky, but
I think Michigan's the only state that's a little bit questionable in there.
But they just had a mass shooting, so they have their hands full.
Yeah.
And I got to say, exactly 1 week ago,
Wait, is that considered a mass shooting? It was only 3 people.
Yeah, that's what is.
Oh, it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure what the number was.
3 or more in one shooting incident.
Okay,
non-gang related, which I don't know why that is a criterion, but
yeah,
because it's yeah.
Yeah,
because
if you remove that criteria, there's a mass shooting every weekend in Chicago,
right,
in Detroit,
and then they have to come to terms with that.
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Well, they're talking about that thing in Chicago, the mutual combat.
Oh my god, that was insane.
I mean,
dude, that would be sick.
A part of me is like, yeah, it's insane, but at the same time, it's like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it would if like they weren't driving through like neighborhoods.
That's
the middle of the city.
That's
firing.
That's the
guns.
part where you have to be like, okay, well, that's like.
Yeah,
like build an arena, yeah.
No,
yeah.
No, I guess
build an arena for the gangs to just go and
dude, I'm down.
duke it out. Dude, we could televise it, tax money, whatever. I mean, I'm not for taxes, I'm not for taxes, but
I'm like UFC. What?
Yeah.
No, that's
UFC. Who?
I think
I'm watching Gang Wars tonight, boy.
I think Oregon has that law too, the mutual combat. Like, you can get like fist fights at bars.
I'm pretty sure Florida does too.
Like.
Oh yeah, because that happens all the time. Like there's a fist fight at a bar, and some guy gets knocked out and then hits the ground and
dies.
Is dead.
That's what always happens.
Yeah, that's why you don't get in bar fights.
So heads up, this was a situation that happened in Detroit. Where did this happen? Chicago.
I don't remember.
I think it's Chicago, but there was pretty much a gang war type thing, and a couple people got shot, a couple people died. But the judges ruled it as mutual combat.
Huh.
And so nobody got prosecuted for it.
Yeah, prosecutors reject charges for 5 suspects involved in deadly Chicago shootout. They cite mutual combat. Yeah, that's fucking bizarre.
Speaking of like Chicago, do you guys remember during like the riots and stuff, whenever there would be riots that would start in like Chicago neighborhoods, like in, pretty rough areas, and it was like Antifa kids that were like dropped off in these areas, and then the fucking Latin Kings would come out and like tell them to get the fuck out of their neighborhood and like threaten them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They like started shooting at some Antifa kids because they were like trying to burn some shit down in their hood. And they were like, no, not in our fucking hood, you're not.
Yo, how retarded do you have to be to go into like a gang territory and think that you're going to get away with that?
It's like you're not in Oregon anymore.
Yeah. And that's a perfect example of like,
Yeah, you can't just take over the whole like city, like 5 city blocks.
Yeah, and this goes back to, protecting your community, right? Like even though they're gangs and they're killing each other every day, it's like, this is my fucking hood. If anyone's going to be doing violence, it's me.
Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of where like the mutual combat, like I know some people on the podcast here have talked about it, and like you guys have mentioned, it gets really muddy and / understandably why you should prosecute them, because if they're firing in public, if they're firing in areas where it's
likely that they
reckless,
hurt someone,
right?
Yeah.
Reckless would be the word,
Right? Because then you're involving people that aren't
exactly.
It's not mutual to them because they want nothing. No.
Yeah, if you go out into the desert and have a duel, I'm down.
Yeah,
but not firing guns in cities.
Well, yeah, but
because you're a bunch of schmucks.
And I think that it was like 60 shots were fired, so that's like observant amount.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah, but
that's not great.
I mean, realistically, it's only 2 AR-15 mags.
But again, the fact that I think the people that died were
Chris and I can shoot that in like probably 4 seconds each.
Were like what gang? They were part of the gang members.
Yeah,
that died.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm not sure.
I'm in this weird place where I'm like, I don't really dislike this notion. I just like that. The fact that it was like an open, like a road. So again, if there was people who were not part of this combat, possibly being put in harm's way, you should be charged for that for sure. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, I don't know. This is kind of interesting.
That reminds me of this story that I saw recently. Like apparently it was back in like the 1800s in Paris. These two guys got into some sort of altercation and they agreed to have a duel. But the way they did it was they went up in hot air balloons and count down and then like shoot at each other. And so they both tried to shoot at each other's hot air balloons.
Exactly.
The first guy missed, and then the second guy hit the other guy's hot air balloon, and then he went like plummeting to his death.
I was about to say that's the first thing I would have done.
Yeah.
I'm shooting the balloon, bro. It's way easier.
Huge target.
Yeah, I was like, how the fuck did that first guy miss, dude? That's insane.
But
smooth as
Bad
fast.
Yeah. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
but to get back to the OSHA thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's awesome that the Fifth Court first denied it, which is awesome, and now again it's going to be appealed at the Sixth. But I think we even stated that it seemed like this thing would not have any grounds to run.
But now my question is, why did it take so long?
I think just the process for whatever reason. You know,
Government.
Why did Andrew Coffey's case take 4 years and Rittenhouse took a year?
Why does it take an hour and a half when you go to the DMV?
Yeah.
Same
Why
shit.
does my mail never arrive on time?
I don't know what you're talking about.
But
It's because you're not my mail guy. That's why.
it.
But even when we brought this up, we thought again this probably wouldn't go through. But I remember us speaking about it. The big thing was that's fine, but all the damage that's going to be happening during the time before it happens, right? Like we saw even before after he announced it, which was just an announcement that he's going to do this thing. Companies were turning around and trying to implement this in immediately without any executive order being put in place.
Right.
So, and we talked about that, I forget what episode, but it was like, this probably won't go through, but I think
a ton of people were already affected.
Yeah,
by exactly.
This. It's one of those
it's
things.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that once, if it gets completely struck down, what recourse do employers have against their I guess their companies are just going to argue that they were just following the mandate. So, it's going to happen.
I had to give up the Jews, but
yeah, exactly.
Bam.
Yeah,
doing my job.
You know what though? If you follow through with this thing already, come on, man.
Just call him a cuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, bunch of cucks.
I think you guys seen that video recently? I think he's like a Instagram comedian, because apparently that's a thing now. He's like in a wheelchair and he's got some like guy who looks like a Secret Service. He's like pushing him around and he's like quoting Joe Biden. He's like just saying, like, he's pretending like he's Joe Biden. It's pretty funny.
I've not.
He's like, well, just copping the thing. And you know what I'm saying. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying. Come on, man.
But I think this kind of leads into was a hot topic probably in our only in our little circle of liberty people, especially the Mises Caucus and libertarians, was Florida's Daddy D signed that bill for to stop private companies from mandating vaccines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when did that that happened? Like a little while ago.
A week and a
we
half.
Haven't done like a episode.
Are you talking about government contractors?
No, he did that a while ago, but then he just recently, like maybe 2 weeks ago.
I thought that's been a thing. Is there a note in here about that?
Yeah, I don't think there's a link. I think I just noted it.
Yeah.
But he went to Brandon, Florida.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah,
and then he signed stating that private companies couldn't.
I think what happened was he had already made some sort of order, but this one was specifically directed at the president's executive order or whatever it was.
The governor signed the bill in Brandon in an apparent play on a right-wing anti-Joe Biden meme. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed several anti-vaccination mandate bills into law Thursday at a Honda dealership in Brandon on the outskirts of Tampa.
Florida shit ever.
An apparent tip of the hat to a notorious right-wing anti-Joe Biden meme. We are proud to be able to make a stand for freedom in Brandon, Florida. DeSantis, a potential 2024 Republican presidential candidate, told supporters before he signed the bill. The crowd broke into occasional cheers of "Let's go Brandon" during his remarks, and those of local lawmakers.
They're making this all about the "Let's go Brandon."
Yeah, it's like that's kind of beside. Like it's not besides the point, but it is.
I mean, he did it in Brandon.
Yeah, the bills were passed Wednesday, largely along party lines during a special legislative session that Desantis had called. One imposes fines on employers with vaccination mandates unless they offer numerous exemptions, and the other bars schools from requiring students to be vaccinated or to wear masks.
Okay, yeah.
DeSantis said he needed to act swiftly to protect workers, blah, blah, blah. Nobody should lose their job because of these COVID jabs. Mandate restrictions are tearing people down. Today we lift people up. It completely pushes back against this belief that some of our leadership put forward that you don't control your body, that your body belongs to Dr. Fauci. I think he's pretty fair in, that kind of
I think
kind of reasoning, right?
In the big liberty movement, this is a discussion which I think I brought up, a couple of us brought up in the past over certain subjects, was we agree with what he's doing, but I personally just don't agree with the way it's going about, right? Like I can be happy this is happening, but at the same time, I can call myself a hypocrite in stating I don't like that he's using government power to do this, because I do believe there should be a clean break between the private sector and the government.
Yeah, I think the right way to do it, in my eyes, is not to pass a law to counter the law. It's to say we're nullifying that law and we're not.
Yeah, that's a better way, right?
Yeah,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's more of like a liberty-minded way of dealing with it.
Yeah, it's like we don't recognize this. I'm not going to make a law that imposes on companies, but we're not recognizing this.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So this way, I don't know, because then it kind of doesn't that leave the door open to companies mandating that you get an irreversible medical treatment to be employed by them?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I think I agree with Chris, but I think that's probably why he didn't do that, is because then people could still be like, okay, I'm glad you nullified it, but we're still going to do it.
Yeah.
I would be interested though, like if they weren't covered by some other law, like a freedom of, I don't know, some sort of like not being able to tell people like your health and things like
type.
It almost seems like you would be, because I mean, to ask somebody if they've had all these certain vaccines or this or that, I mean, do you have to tell people that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's an employee, I don't know.
Yeah, it starts to cross a really like blurry line between
does,
like the right to operate your business as you want, but you're also kind of, I guess you're not impeding on people's like medical freedom because you have the choice to not work for them. And, obviously if enough people aren't in favor of that, the company will have no employees. They'll go out of business. But like at the same time, like, are we getting, as I always like to say, are we getting lost in the sauce with this one? Because it's weird, because like no matter what way you look at it, somebody's rights are getting kind of trampled on. And I guess it kind of comes down to like what personal freedom is more important, your medical freedom or your freedom to run your business? And I guess when you nullify it, you're kind of freeing up both of those avenues.
Yeah.
One of the things
I don't know. That's a weird one for me.
Always bring up in reference to this mandate and whether or not it's, justifiable or not, people will say that, to go to school, you always had to have like certain vaccines, and you had to prove that you had them. Well, there was actually always exceptions to every single one of those vaccines.
Every single one of them.
You didn't have to have any of those vaccines.
Nope, you didn't.
There were exemptions. Whereas in this case, there are no exemptions, and they're trying to cut all avenues to having it.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too, right? It's like, okay, sure, these schools said, you needed X, Y, and Z vaccine to, come to school, but, that's just school. Like, you could always go to a different school. Mm-hmm. Where in this case, it's like now the federal government is saying you can't participate in society unless you get
you
what
can't
we're
go
telling
to the grocery
you to get.
store.
Yeah, and that's just, crazy to me.
Yeah, but like Chris said, there's exemptions. There's religious exemptions. There's health exemptions. There's all these exemptions.
Right.
But with this thing, it's all one size fits all.
Yeah,
you know,
no, I
which
was
is the
just
problem.
saying, even like looking beyond the exemption idea. It's like it's bigger than that because it's everything. It's not just school.
Yeah.
Yeah, one place I come from with a lot of these kind of topics where we might get lost in the sauce, and I would agree we probably do, but I still think the conversation has to happen because it's possible that if we think about not getting lost in the sauce too much, then maybe we lose our principles and along the way during these times, which is understandable because we're going through times where the federal government's trying to mandate all these things. There's government overreach everywhere right now, so seeing government overreach to combat the government overreach is understandable. But I don't think that means we can't have these conversations, because I think having these conversations keeps it alive, so when things calm down, we don't forget where we came from, in a sense. Because I don't know, I think a greater thing to, glad this happened in a sense, right? That Governor Desantis did this because, again, it combats government overreach with government overreach, but still it combats it, right? And I think that we would see to be negative is this also, for an outcome I wish to happen, possibly in my lifetime, would be to have a less government in my life and most people and everybody's lives, right? Which would mean that as a society, these discussions would have to happen to make changes. And so I think that still needs to happen even with the government overreach, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is great this happened, but I think this still means that people have to speak up to their employers who are doing this, and people who don't want it, just, it's easy to say leave, but either leave or just don't do it, right? Or as a community come together and be like, hey, us on this job, all 50 of us out of this 200 employees, people are saying, we're not getting it. What are you going to do? Right?
Yeah.
I think these discussions still need to happen because in a world where I want to be, within my lifetime, this is what would have to happen to make changes. So I don't know. That's just somewhere I come from, thinking down the line. And
well, no, and that's something we kind of is a reoccurring theme with all of our podcasts is build a community, whether it be 20, 30 of you in your office or wherever you work, or if it's your neighborhood, it's so important to build these communities because that's where, you can really, come together as a group and, with anything, the more people that voice their opinion, the stronger that opinion resonates with the rest of, whatever, avenue or whatever, audience it is that you're speaking to. So
the best way to do that is by having you and all your friends listen to Politics on the Rocks.
What was that? Politics on
the socks?
On my socks? Politics on my socks. What time is it? Oh yeah, it's whiskey hour.
Whiskey wisdom with Cam. You got something for us?
Whiskey wisdom with Cam. So I actually thought about this today because Bookie, I know you were going to be a freaking prick and bring this up, but no, I think there's a challenge with this with DeSantis and getting lost in the sauce in this conversation that we have pretty often.
We've been getting lost in a lot of his sauce.
You know what though? Bookie's good for bringing this stuff up though, because if we're going to talk about being principled and everything, it's super fair that we have these conversations and be principled when when we like what we see.
But we still also have to hold our principles.
Exactly. Right. And if we don't, we'll just like every other, BS that we see on the news and on, CNN and Fox News, whatever. However, the challenge is with this type of thing is, you have to allow sort of DeSantis to sort of play the game. As the board game is laid out and the chips are out, you have to allow him to play and make the next move, because if he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It gets very complicated because there's instructions of how this game is played and it's already set, and you have to kind of allow him to play the game, and the best way for him to do that is, unfortunately, right? I mean, this is not something that we're particularly...
Hey, fix your mic real quick. You sound a little off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, now pull it over, too.
I'm a little sideways.
There, much better.
But the best way to, I think, play the game is to play it, you know, and if it means passing a law and saying no, you can't do this, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Well, yeah, and then sorry, I knew you were about to talk. That's a good point because
not to interrupt.
Not to interrupt you, but no, that's a good point because at the end of the day, you have to remember that DeSantis is a politician, and like you said multiple times, he's just playing the game. I think from a politician's standpoint, keeping liberty-minded approaches in mind, just to reinforce what you're saying, he is playing, the better game in regards to the liberty-minded, kind of approach to it. But, like you said, he still needs to play that game.
Yeah.
And I had no real point. I just wanted to kind of just reiterate what you were saying.
There's actually been kind of like a pretty big rift in the Libertarian Party involving this exact topic that we're talking about right now. Well, not the Libertarian Party, the Libertarian, I guess, just between Libertarian people. And, some of them think more like DeSantis, where they say we need to basically wield power to bring about liberty. Mm-hmm. And then others say, that's what makes us libertarian, is that we aren't going to wield power to force other people to do what we want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's, good points on both sides. I think, the more principled answer is definitely the second, saying that wielding power to force other people to do what you want to do is wrong, regardless of if it comes out to like a good outcome or not. But I'm certainly not going to speak against what DeSantis is doing and like put it down, because what he's doing is protecting people's medical freedom.
It's lending more towards liberty than it is the other.
Right, exactly. The other authoritarian approach is going to lead to much bigger loss of liberty than the authoritarian approach that DeSantis is using.
And I guess, and you said that really well, Chris, and I think that was kind of my point, is like, the more principled approach here, I don't want to say what you just said, but I think you said it well. I don't need to say anything else.
It's one of those things where, instead of getting lost in the sauce and bringing up like, oh, well, this, and well, that, oh, well, this, and it's like, enjoy the win. You know what I mean? Like, enjoy the win, but obviously don't let up on the gas. Continue to push. But this is, I think, moving the needle in the right direction.
And also, we're judging him like he's a libertarian candidate.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a Republican, right?
He's not.
A Republican.
Yeah, he's not. So, if we elected this guy into office from a libertarian,
I'm sure we would have our gripes.
Yeah, I mean, we'd be like, "Whoa, you should have. What are you doing? You should have done it this way. Why are you not? But he's not. So we have to be okay, I guess, with the person we have.
It's worth pointing out. I'm pretty sure we've had an episode since the what the fuck election just happened? Congressional
with Nick. Huh?
You know what I'm talking about? The election that just happened.
Oh yeah,
the
council.
A lot of libertarians. What was that? A lot of libertarians won some like big seats in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I don't have all of them in front of me, but I think it's just worth pointing out.
Yeah, and a lot of like the Mises Caucus strategy is like winning these like small time elections, local elections, which I think is awesome. Yeah, because that's where they can win.
That's where they can win, and that's where it matters.
And that's where you can affect the most change in your community.
Yeah. Right.
And also it's just more realistic that you can actually win. Whereas on a federal election, you're probably not going to win.
Yeah,
you're going to get more attention. You might be able to get your message out more effectively, but you're not going to win.
No,
it's not going to happen.
No, you're not going to win. But you're right about that. Because these are what is it? Non-partisan elections, So like, it doesn't, you say a couple things that people like, and they're about it.
Right.
Yeah. How about that guy, the fucking truck driver who spent like $200?
One.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
What about these COVID numbers right now?
Yeah, dude, I seen that in the notes, and I
open up that map. I wish we had video on it.
Is this the map here?
it's if you scroll down.
This map shows a rolling average of daily cases for the past week. This is the best sign of hotspots. Our experts monitor this 7-day average instead of new cases, especially since local health departments have shifted their focus to vaccine reporting and no longer report case counts every 24 hours.
The cool thing about this map is you can hover over the states and it tells you what the approximate fully vaccinated percentage is.
And guess who has the lowest case per 100,000? Florida and Texas.
The two states that have been demonized all summer in the media.
Right.
But if you hover over the states, it tells you the approximate number of fully vaccinated.
Yeah, Florida,
and it's
61%.
Like, Texas is below 50%.
And look at that.
All these northeastern states are between like 60 and 70.
Right. New Jersey, per 100,000 people, 24.3. These are positive cases, right?
Yeah.
Daily positive cases. Per 100,000, New Jersey has 24.3. Their fully vaccinated population is 67.5. Florida is 4 in every 100,000, and they're 61% vaccinated. I know that's obviously not the most accurate comparison because of things like population density and stuff like that, but
I mean, really, and we're not saying that the vaccine is causing outbreaks or anything like that. The point is just like this is a seasonal thing, and it comes and goes in waves, and we've kind of seen that it kind of flip flops between the north and south of the U.S. Right, like whenever the north is in a spike, the south isn't, and when the south is in a spike, the north isn't. It's kind of the way it's been going,
right?
But it's whenever the south is in a spike, though, the media is in an absolute frenzy about it. And then when the north is in a spike, they just don't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, what is this one? Total cases for the United States. Ooh, Florida still got.
That's since
but
the
that's
beginning.
also right. And Florida has what, the third highest population?
Yeah.
In the state, in the country. So
Utah up there.
Damn. So that must be like as a percentage of the total population.
Yeah. And I know we brought this up in the past episodes with during July, Florida's going through that humongous spike. And, we pointed out that, again, like Chris said, it seems COVID goes in waves, seasonal waves. For whatever reason, like you stated, when Florida's got its numbers going up like we did in July, everybody else is kind of floating down. But, you can say that and be like, oh, well, still, whatever, Florida vaccination rates or Florida masks. But at the end of the day, everybody's getting these same waves. Mm-hmm. And to state that, if Florida was such a terrible place because we don't have these mandates installed, then wouldn't our wave just last longer? Mm-hmm. Like, the wave thing wouldn't be in reality.
This has got to be a glitch, right here. Fatality rate has been the same for the past year. That can't be right?
No way.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But what we're looking at right now is the MayoClinic.org coronavirus.
We have a link tree, right? We'll drop this in the link tree.
Yeah, I feel like we've said that so many times.
Yeah, we never do. So don't expect it to be actually be in the link tree. Well, if
one person
we'll
that checks the link tree.
Yeah, it's like those bastards lied to me again.
Wait, real quick, just scroll. Who's the least vaccinated state?
Oh, dude, how the fuck am I going to do that? Texas is 54.5.
No, actually, it's Louisiana.
Yeah, Nevada's lower.
It's one of those southeast states.
47, I think, was Louisiana.
Mississippi, 46, Mississippi. That's at 46 is Alabama.
Yeah, all the southeast, the deep south is below 50 for the most part.
Yeah, I don't see anywhere. Oh, 51. Yeah, 46 is the lowest I've seen.
Wait, wasn't that 45 somewhere?
Was that
Where?
Was that Idaho?
Midwest?
Or no, that was
to the left?
45, Wyoming?
Yeah, Wyoming, 45.
I mean, bro.
Bunch
Literally
of
one
Chads out
person
there.
every 10 miles.
Yeah, I was about to say. When you don't see anybody.
Yeah, but
That was the point.
per 100,000 people, they're pretty high, 61.4. I mean, a lot higher than we are. We're 4, Florida. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just goes to show that there's really no discernible trend as far as like vaccines rates and like mask wearing rates.
That's it.
There's no discernible trend as to whether you get more COVID cases or less based on whether you vaccinate or don't or wear masks or don't. But every time that a state that doesn't vaccinate as much or doesn't wear masks as much has a high rate, it's all
highlighted.
over the place,
right?
And highlighted as if
41% West Virginia,
but it's not. There's just no trend.
Right, and this is something that Tom Woods brought up like 6 months into this.
Yeah.
He had that huge event where literally all he did was just showed numbers and explained what you were looking at, and
he still
he
has
said the exact
that
same
quiz.
thing.
He still has that quiz up where you can they'll give you a graph of a random state, and they'll say, take a guess as to where the mask mandate came into effect.
And it's always just before it ramps, right?
Right, most of the time it is.
But, you know, at the same time, this is the same time that, you know, the air quotes seasonal spike reaches. So it's like, you know, we're
if
obviously...
it worked, you would see a difference in Florida and in New York.
And that's the point he was driving home, you know?
Yeah. You see a difference whenever it ramps up.
Yes.
As the rate of positive cases, which
and
you don't.
Another thing to point out too is people will point to studies and tests that have been done where, you know, masks, you know, have a significant effect, and, you know, you can somewhat debate that, which is fine, but something you have to come to grips with is reality, right? And like you guys are stating, it seems in the real world, in reality, when put into a real applicable state, masks have no significant effect on the spread of the virus. Yeah. So, like, what I'm trying to say here is that, yeah, if masks worn perfectly, done to the T as it's supposed to be done, yeah, they probably would have a significant effect on how the virus is spread. But in real life situations, that just cannot be replicated, thus annulling the fact that masks work. Which just means, like, why are we still, like, again, we're not masking really here in Florida anymore. But I know it's
really did. I mean,
we did for a couple months. It was a big thing
here.
Yeah,
I didn't notice it. That's just maybe just
it was a big thing. But, you know, obviously we had the big spat with, like, the Denver County.
Well, you just never wore it, Nick.
Masking the kids.
Fuck that mask. I ain't wearing that shit.
But, like,
the fuck, you got me fucked up.
Yeah, but it's just something for people to think about is, yeah, something might look perfect on paper, but if you can't replicate it in reality, what the fuck? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that even mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, these tests are all done in, like, you know, medical settings, lab settings,
vacuums, essentially,
medical settings where, you know, trained professionals are using masks like you're supposed to use a mask,
right? Changing them every 30 minutes.
Yeah, not like a 5-year-old at school picking their nose and, like, you know.
Well, you know, and from what I can tell, you didn't really get any like test results from masks. They just said you need to wear them. Did anybody say, like,
here's the effectivity rate and this
no,
and that?
You didn't get any of that with masks.
Yeah, there's like a few studies, but like I said, all of them are, like, specifically directed at in a medical setting. Does a mask
right? Which is
work?
What is zero people are doing.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
everybody's wearing a freaking, you know,
paper cloth
underwear
neck
on their
choker
face.
thing on their neck, on
gators.
their face, gators and stuff. And I'm like, all right.
But even if you're wearing like a medical mask, I mean, if you're wearing like the same mask like over and over again, that just totally negates it.
Or if you're doing anything like walking, like, it becomes hard to breathe, and, like, people take it off, you know, every chance they get.
That reminds me of that video that it was like a city council meeting, and I think you sent it to me, Chris. And this woman, she's got her mask on, and she's going on and on about how, you know, we need to, you know, whatever. I think it was a school district thing. Anyway, she was going on and on about how we need to be wearing masks, this and that, and she's like borderline about to faint as she's like, you remember that video?
Yeah, that was like towards the beginning of
the
pandemic.
Was a long time ago.
She literally like passed
she's like,
out.
Yeah, it was funny to watch.
I don't know if she
about
had
to pass
like
the fuck out.
I don't know if it was like because of the mask or she like had a legit panic attack.
Yeah, I guess it could have been either one.
Bro.
But I'm sure wearing a mask while you're having a panic attack is not inductive of having a good outcome.
What about the dude with the fish tank on his head at 2J's We were at 2J's. We were like walking out.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
This dude looked like he was going scuba diving. He had this like
you know, like the full face respirators that like some car painters will wear because like you can absorb the the fumes and shit through your skin.
Yeah.
This guy had one of those on in public, bro.
Yeah.
Like legit filters, like like CBRN filters and
least he's
everything.
committed.
I mean,
I mean, I'd rather that guy be wearing that and like tell me to wear a mask.
Well, exactly. That's
than like someone wearing a handkerchief around.
Right, and that's exactly what me and Cam we walked out and we both turned to each other like, hey, at least he's doing something that's probably pretty fucking certain that he's not getting.
Yeah, bro. Because like, remember when he took it off, he was like,
he was drenched in sweat.
Dude, the guy's like just pouring sweat down it.
You said you've had encounters with this guy, right?
Yeah, that guy's a nutcase.
Yeah, but did he cover his anal cavity?
Good point. I don't know.
I'll ask him. If you see him again, I'll ask him. Should I ask him?
No, just walk up next to him and just rip his shorts off and be like, let me see that butt.
Let me see that anus,
Let me
brother.
see that butt.
You got a leaky crevice in here.
Chocolate starfish.
You're like, bro, you got loose holes.
Hey, bro, I should definitely text the family chat and tell them I had COVID, though, right?
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Oh, you should do it. You should do it on air. Just do it right now.
You want me to do it right now?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
Call Uncle
And
Craig.
tell them that Emily gave it to you.
Yeah, we had a
Look at this, guys. ...
we had a lot of family in
I
town.
tested for COVID.
And if anybody knows if anybody knows Nick
I'm
by
positive.
listening to this podcast, you know that like
Just wait a couple minutes and then say for chlamydia.
No, I'm gonna do that. Psych, got him.
Got him.
if anybody knows Nick, he knows he likes to stir the pot. You like to stir the pot, bro.
Do I? I guess I am a pot stir.
You like to stir the pot.
Just a little bit.
I mean, if you find a good like situation, you'll stir the pot.
If you find a good pot
you'll stir
and
it.
needs stirring,
All right, so the only reason I didn't wait for them to all start tripping is because Grandpa's now in this. He's in this chat.
oh,
And Kathy texted before he got off. Nice.
Wait, what do you mean? It already happened?
Yeah, I said, guys. All right, so just a little precursor. Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, obviously, we were all at my grandfather's house, and I did not feel well. Look at my mom's. My mom goes, "You would never test." I said, accurate. Anyway, so Wednesday we were at my grandfather's house, and I don't know what it was. Like, I felt completely fine. I just had a blistering headache, and like it felt like an allergy thing, honestly. And
it turns out all you needed was an enema.
No, well, I hadn't drank whiskey in a couple days, so I think I was having withdrawals now that I'm thinking about it.
That's a good point.
But yeah, so Wednesday we were at my grandfather's, and I just was not feeling good, and all of my aunts from the Northeast were down, and they were all freaking out. They're like, "Stay away from Grandpa, stay away." And then Thursday, kind of the same thing. Thanksgiving, I ended up like falling asleep at my aunt's for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever it was. And then they're all giving me shit, so just for fun, I decided to text the group chat that I tested positive. And my mom texts back, you would never test. I said, accurate. She goes, "Are you sick?" I'm gonna say I got a sickness for the thickness. And I'm gonna do peaches, the peach emoji.
Oh god.
Your family loves you, Nick.
No, they fucking hate me. I'm pretty sure.
No, they love you.
I'm waiting for Uncle Craig.
Your Uncle Craig's probably laughing his ass off.
I'm waiting for Uncle Craig to text me and be like, "You're such an asshole." Before I texted the headline that Chris Cuomo suspended from CNN, I said, "Oh, the COVID sweetheart," because they all love those guys.
But
Anyway,
maybe to end this off with since we're on the forbidden topic of COVID once again.
COVID episode
is the Omicron.
Omicron?
The Transformer variant.
It's Omicron.
I am Omicron.
Yeah, there's no N. It's Omicron.
It's Omicron.
I'm Omicron. Omicron.
It's crazy that we're going to be almost 2 years into this in a couple months.
Oh, God.
And the fact that this variant was found.
February, right? February.
Yeah. And the people. So this variant was found, not necessarily that it originated, but it was found in South Africa.
Look at CNN with this fucking like straight up fear mongering. Omicron coronavirus variant puts world on edge.
And the people
like the Delta variant did, right? What the fuck ever happened with that?
And the the doctors in South Africa are reporting that they're seeing very mild cases of people.
Yeah,
having
people are getting like the squirts for a day.
Yeah.
And
It's
also,
I have that normally, so.
Yeah.
the original notice said that the first 4 people that they detected this variant in were all fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, like to like you really mean to tell me that like it hasn't hit here yet? Like somebody here hasn't had the Omicron variant already?
Yeah.
Like get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw Transformers. They live among us. So
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because I remember, you know, a lot of the air quote conspiracy theorists saying this within like 6 or 7 months of this all starting, that the variants would never end and the boosters would never end. Here we are 2 years later, we're on the 3rd booster talking about the 4th, and we're on the 5th variant now?
Candace Owens, not to, you know, give her so much
No,
credit,
but she did have a good tweet
she
recently.
had a great tweet. It was like, the experts told you that it would be over in 2 weeks and that, you know, all you had to do was get vaccinated and it would be over. The conspiracy theorists told you it would never end and that they would continue rolling out fucking variants until the end of time.
Like, who do you believe now?
Like, who was right?
Yeah, no, that was I'm not particularly a huge fan of Candace Owen.
She's also pushing the "Let's Go Brandon" coin lately, and it's been like really pissing
What is that,
me
a
off.
crypto?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be.
I'm gonna hop on that because I think that'll probably blow up because
Dude,
a lot
I mean,
of conservatives are retarded.
The first couple days, it like popped off. Like it went up like 500%.
Are you in it? You in it? No.
But the first couple days, like you could have made.
Bro, you can't go to a gas station without seeing that little Biden thing.
I did this, Joe
did
Biden.
They're everywhere, man.
Yeah, dude.
especially
Those are
here.
great.
They're really everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I've seen a couple where someone peeled it off, but you can still see the outline.
Oh yeah.
dirt
For sure.
line.
I like the gas stations that are like, if you touch this, like you're gonna be charged. Like we're gonna come after you for vandalism.
I haven't seen one of those.
Yeah, have you
yet.
seen that? Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, that's funny. But I was listening to our Lord and Savior Tim Dillon, and he was talking about the Omicron.
Blessed be thy name.
And he was kind of like talking
Gospel.
about it, and he said he thinks this will be the last variant that they discuss.
Oh yeah.
And
Think so?
I think I kind of might agree with him, because if we're going,
I think they're seeing that it's not working.
People are just
anymore.
clowning it
yeah,
at this point.
I mean, at this again, like you guys say, they're clowning on him at this point. It's going to be 2 years, February, and then once everything, like in another season when another variant may pop up, to think that people are going to even think that this is an appropriate reaction is, I think, crazy to think of.
Yeah. It almost seems like this is one of those things where they like roll out to see what happens.
Like this is the last
Yeah.
hurrah.
This is like the last test. Like, how much longer will people deal with this nonsense? Like, here's the Omicron. This is the Transformer variant.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens here. They put it out, and everybody's like, this is a joke.
Yeah, this is like
The scariest part.
Custard going over the mountain thinking he's going to win.
The scariest part about all this, though, is it gave a lot of really undesirable people a lot of really good information about how much we will actually take.
No, that's true. That's super true.
And you know, I mean, I still need to look into it, and maybe we'll cover this next episode. But apparently, there's like insane protests going on in Australia, Austria, and there was a third that I can't remember seeing, and it's just not being reported
In Italy,
on for
I
obvious
think.
reasons.
yeah, Italy, it was like Venice or something.
Italy, wow,
Yeah.
that surprises me because Italy was like all on board with the whole like,
not
lockdown
anymore.
shit for a long time. Well, because it's like you just said, we're approaching on 2 years of doing the exact same thing, and we're not out of the wood. Like we're not out of this yet. So
No.
like, why are we still following this
Nonsense.
this model that obviously doesn't work?
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
because it's always the same excuse. It's like, oh, it's those the half of the people that didn't want to, didn't follow the rules. It's never that it just didn't work. It's that people didn't follow it.
I mean, if this continues, it's gonna be going from it's the 40% that aren't vaccinated to it's the 50% that don't have their 5th booster shot.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's another thing. Like, from our perspective, none of us here are vaccinated, right?
don't ask me about my personal information.
Shut the fuck up.
It's none of your
None of
goddamn
us here are
business.
vaccinated. If we
All right, Fauci over there.
if we did decide to like get vaccinated, we would never be able to catch up. We would always be unvaccinated by the CDC and the WHO standard, right?
How silly is that?
Yeah, like we could literally like and we could get the first one, get the second one. By the time we're eligible for the third one, they're gonna have a fourth one. By the time we get the fourth one, they're gonna have a fifth one. So like, what if you're not vaccinated at this point? What the fuck is the point? You're never gonna be fully vaccinated.
Do you think if they put a Viagra substance in these vaccines, they would have gotten more men vaccinated?
Well, you seen that brothel in
I saw that.
Amsterdam, was it?
I don't know where it
there
was.
was a brothel that was saying they're like gonna give out free sex to like people who got the vaccine.
Be vaccinated in a second.
I'm like, shit, bitch.
Since
I don't
you
know. That
mentioned-
vaccine looking mighty good right about now.
Since you mentioned that, did you guys see in Germany, like for assisted suicide? They said you have to be vaccinated.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You just posted about that, right?
The euthanasia post.
Jesus Christ!
Like, are you kidding me?
Just imagine like the black market euthanasia market goes up and it's just like people shooting people in the head.
Yeah.
That was something that I was like not impressed, but I was like surprised to see at the VNA how they like didn't really give a fuck once you were in the room.
What? Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay,
yeah.
You kept looking at me. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, no, you're right. They didn't ask about that at all.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so I guess we'll just explain real quick.
Yeah.
So Cameron and I's grandmother passed away recently, and she was in hospice for 3 days.
Yeah, about 3.
3 days, and the rule was like you couldn't have more than 4 people in the room, and they say you're supposed to wear your mask, but like we had a fucking party in there. Basically, we had like 12 people in there unmasked, and
our
they never
family's
really
too big
gave a
for
shit.
that.
Yeah. The next day they were like, hey, like we were pushing the rules, but like you guys need to chill out.
Yeah,
but they didn't
like,
give a shit. Like if you were in the room without a mask, they didn't say nothing to you, and it's like, what the fuck, like. It's hospice, like
yeah. I mean,
you're on your way out. Like what?
The sick person there is like literally dying,
right?
So,
like them getting COVID would probably be best case scenario.
Yeah,
not to be morbid about it, but
right.
Yeah.
No, if anything, that's where COVID should be spread.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you.
You have such a way with words, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And on that note,
yeah. Is that it? We're done.
This is definitely the hour.
The Kumo hour.
What? What'd I say?
No, him.
Oh.